Welcome to Movie Oubliette, the film review podcast for movies that most people have mercifully forgotten.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Conrad, and in each episode, we drag a forsaken film out of the oubliette,
Discuss it and judge it to decide whether it should be set free
or whether it should be thrown back and consigned to oblivion forever. We review the films others tend to forget. Come with us and open up the movie oubliette. Greetings, programs! Welcome to episode 184 of Movie Oubliette, the cyberspace-spanning podcast for forgotten fantastical films with me, Conrad, fully recovered from jet lag in Cambridge, UK.
Ew, and me, Dan, about to attend a cherry blossom festival because it's finally spring here in Melbourne, Australia.
Oh, lovely. We focus on forgotten fantasy, sci-fi and horror films because we love magical frisbee weapons, digitally teleported hackers, and kidnapped white-collar workers being tortured and killed in gladiatorial combat.
Yes. Hello, Conrad. How are you? Yes. Well rested from your holiday abroad?
I am indeed, yes. Back from my 2-week jaunt, just watching movies and eating great vegan food and hanging out with our friends Sam and Joe. It was lovely.
Amazing.
Yes. So look out for some bonus episodes from us on all the films we saw.
Yeah. What was it like going to Toronto for the second time?
It was great, actually, because you don't have any of the anxiety that you might have as a lone traveller going to a new city, because I knew where everything was. I says, hey, it's my neighbourhood. I'll just wander around. It was great. And the weather was beautiful too.
And I guess because the first time you would have gone to all the tourist sites and landmarks and stuff, whereas this time you can just enjoy being in Toronto rather than having to, see all the sites.
Yeah, and as well as that, friends were taking me to places that aren't tourist traps but are still interesting, like their favourite neighbourhood or their favourite street markets and things. So that was much more indicative of the people and their culture.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, Conrad, it is good to have you back.
Thank you, Isaac, for keeping my seat warm. He did an amazing job in the last episode.
Yes, he did. So quickly, any films that we should look out for that are coming out from TIFF?
Yes, there were a couple of films I was particularly excited about. One was called Exit 8, which is a Japanese film based on a game, oddly enough, about a man who finds himself trapped in a never-ending loop of underground tunnels when he tries to get out of the subway train. So a bit of an existential horror film.
Wow, cool.
And also a Saoirse Ronan black comedy thriller called Bad Apples about a teacher who accidentally locks her worst pupil in her basement.
Oh, okay.
As you do.
Yeah, okay. I love Saoirse, though. She's great.
Saoirse's great, yeah.
I guess we should move on to the mailbag. Today, Conrad, let's listen to some comments from our listeners.
Yes, we have a new patron, Scarlett. Welcome aboard, Scarlett.
Hello, Scarlett.
Yeah, thanks for supporting the show. And we heard from Scott on The Hidden, who said, listening to this episode and the problem they discuss with the ending also bothered me about Duncan Jones's Source Code from 2011.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It bothered me too. That's the Jake Gyllenhaal movie where he's inhabiting the body of another man on a train.
Yeah, there's a few sci-fi movies that come out which have great premises, but the endings are terrible. And I feel like that's one of those movies.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's like, oh, we're supposed to be fine with this?
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable. Yeah, that's a very good point, Scott.
Yeah.
And of course, we heard from Serge of Cold Crash Pictures. Hello, Serge.
Hello, Serge.
And he said about the one I love, The one I love is a genre-bending feature-length Twilight Zone episode which switches from a fantasy drama about relationships to a sci-fi thriller about deception halfway through. It's easy to poke holes in the plot and even the themes, frankly, but I think it's a compelling watch.
Okay, yeah. I was curious, what Serge thought about it, because it does have plot holes, like a lot of them.
It does, yes. I watched the movie last night, and I have to say, you and Isaac did an amazing job of breaking down all of the inconsistencies and the holes, and just asking each other, what's happening here? Is it this? Is it this? And it's amazing that you couldn't even agree on some of the plot points, even the ending. Yeah.
But I still think it's a compelling watch, as Serge has said.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'd never heard of it before. So, yeah, it's a true Oubliette gem we've found there.
Yes.
But thanks, everyone, for writing in. We always love hearing from you.
Okay, Conrad, what's the film for today?
Well, let me just hop on over to the Oubliette and find out. Oh, I seem to be in a strange neon world.
And what are you wearing?
A leotard. Ooh, maybe I should have done some sit-ups.
It looks tight.
Yeah, especially around the crotch. Oh, there's somebody here. He's going to throw something at me. Ah!
Wow.
Oh, it's a disc? Oh, it's a Blu-ray of a film. Okay, I'm coming back.
Whoa, now that is a big door.
Okay, Conrad, what do you have?
So I have with me, quite aptly considering the imminent release of its legacy sequel, the 1982 science fiction action-adventure film Tron, directed by Steven Lisberger, written by Steven Lisberger, based on a story by himself and Bonnie McBird, and starring Jeff Bridges, Bruce Boxleitner, David Warner, Cindy Morgan, and Barnard Hughes.
Ooh. So what happens in Tron? Those listeners that don't know.
Well, Tron centers on Kevin Flynn, a computer genius turned video game arcade owner who's trying to hack into the systems of his previous employer, Encom, to prove that its unscrupulous senior executive, Ed Dillinger, stole all of his video game ideas. With the help of his ex, Laurie, and her wary new boyfriend, Alan, Kevin breaks into Encom's office, only for the company's evil master control program to disintegrate and digitize him using Laurie's experimental laser and transport him into the world of the computer system.
Oh.
There, Kevin finds a virtual world in which programs look like the users who created them and are fighting to overthrow the MCP's authoritarian regime on glowing grids with lethal frisbees to restore open source freedom to the world.
Oh, okay.
Can Kevin help Laurie and Alan's alter egos, Yuri and Tron, bring down the MCP and his needlessly sadistic henchman, Sark? Will he uncover the evidence he needs to redeem his stolen legacy? Or will the result simply be the most expensive screensaver in history? Find out after the break.
Yes. And we will have a special guest as well.
We will. Our special guest today is writer, film critic, and co-host of the Horror Queers podcast and my TIFF guide, Joe Lipsett. Hello, Joe.
Hey.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
It's wonderful to have you back.
I mean, you two have spent a lot of time together recently.
That is true, yes.
Yes, swanning around in the sun in Toronto. And now we are back in our dingy recording studios.
The sheen of the film festival is now off and we're back to regular life, right?
We are indeed. But we are revisiting a very exciting film that you've chosen for us, Joe. It's a timely suggestion, of course, because there is a new sequel arriving the week that this podcast drops. Tron from 1982, from Disney's difficult, dark era. When did you first experience this movie, Joe? What's your history with it?
Oh, gosh. I don't know that I have a significant one with it. I taught a course on like sort of dystopian futures that are ruled by technology. So I think this was one of the films that I strongly considered, not just because it's such a hallmark classic of the genre, right? You know, we're going to talk about the technical aspects that make this film stand out. But yeah, I didn't watch it as a kid. So I came to it very late. And I'll confess that I think that ended up hurting my appreciation of it, because as an adult, if you don't have a kind of legacy relationship with it, you just think, who wrote this? This story is confounding.
Yes, I think it works much better as a nostalgia piece than as a science fiction drama. But another test of that, Dan, you did not grow up with this, I assume.
No. I watched it in my 20s, like good mid-20s, so in the 2000s. Yes, I didn't have any nostalgia for this movie, and some of the visuals, if not all, I don't know. I understand milestone for the time, but growing up in the 90s and 2000s, like it just doesn't quite hold up visually.
Yeah, it obviously emerges in the era of Disney trying desperately to be relevant to teenagers or older audiences at a time when blockbuster movie making was going through the roof. Of course, it emerged in 1982 when Steven Spielberg's E.T. just mopped up the entirety of the box office, I believe. Rather unfortunate timing for them. So it comes around the time that they were doing lots of things like The Black Hole that we've looked at. Watcher in the Woods was the film that they'd worked on immediately before this. Yeah. And at this point, a young upstart animator, Steven Lisberger, comes to them with this idea for an animated character called Tron that's entirely made out of light based on a backlit animation approach that he'd developed. And they jumped at it because it was new and interesting, and because they could see this video game craze that was taking the kids by storm in the early 80s. And they thought that they could capitalize on that and be down with the kids and relevant again. And so the end result is probably one of the most audacious film productions. It's an odd one because in much the same way that I often argue that many of the Marvel movies are technically animated movies because 90% of it is entirely animated with a few humans pasted into it. This is essentially an animated movie. Every single scene of this from about the half an hour mark onwards in the computer world was shot live, but then every single frame of it was printed out, put on an animation stand, and combined with multiple layers of hand-drawn animation, backlit animation, and rephotographed. So it's essentially an animated movie plus about 15 minutes of groundbreaking CGI. So it's a landmark. But yes, it struggles in other senses, particularly its story writing and its themes, I think.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was trying to recall the first time I watched this on this revisit, all I remember was holding up the frisbee, the light cycle scene, and a massive door.
Right.
And that is all I remember because there's so much like...
The rest bleeds together, right?
Yeah, and there's so much computer language and sort of jargon in this movie to the point where I don't really know what they're talking about. Like it's similar to what we experienced in John Carter, where you've got all this like sci-fi language, and it's like I don't know what any of this means. And it's funny watching them behind the scenes. A lot of the actors didn't even know what the lines meant.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to say it informs their performance, but like I think they did a pass on this. So the woman who is credited with co-writing, so the story credit is Bonnie McBird. And she apparently worked with a computer programmer named Alan, who she eventually married, and he would do rewrites with her on the computer. They had to make it look like they had done it on the typewriter, but apparently this film is credited as having a screenplay that was first written on a computer.
Wow.
So like 1982.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's another milestone, but I think so much of it ends up getting lost in that jargon that you're talking about, Dan, where they're trying to make it real, but the population who would actually understand the kinds of things that they're talking about is so small, and they're making it for a mass audience. And you just think, even if it is accurate, it's not always interesting to watch or listen to as a result. So if you're not wowed by the visuals, then there's whole sections of the film that just kind of fall apart as a result.
Yeah, I mean, some of these words, I just want to list off some of these words. So there's de-resolution or de-rezzing. There's the recognizer spaceships, I guess. There's master control program, or MCP, as they call it. At one point, there's a line, inoperable data pushes. Don't know what that means. There's conscripts, there's logic probes, scanning, transport beams, solar sailing simulations. It's just, I don't know what any of this means.
No, and the thing I always used to think about it when I was a teenager watching it, and this is when the personal computer era had really taken off. I had a BBC Micro at home. I was programming. I credit the film with giving me an interest in that. I think a lot of people who are in computer science now would say the same thing, who are my age. But at the same time, I reflected on it as a teenager and thought, if you're well versed enough in computers to understand this language, you're beyond the point where you think there are little people running around inside your computer. So it doesn't work for either audience, ironically.
Yeah, I do feel like the demographic audience is so tiny. It's such a narrow target audience, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do the two of you think that that ends up contributing to the film's box office failure? Because this is a notorious flop. That's the reason it's a cult film. And I mean, I'm sure you're probably going to hear from some listeners who say, I can't believe you're covering Tron. This isn't a movie Oubliette. Like, no one has forgotten the movie Tron. But I would argue that I don't think many people actually think about the story or the characters of Tron. I think they remember the groundbreaking visual effects.
Yeah, I think so too. Like the fact that, yes, they use a lot of CGI. And when I was watching it, I thought, oh, this is terrible CGI. But watching the making of, they didn't have any software to make CGI. This is all coded with like lots of numbers and graphs and inputting data manually into a computer with just numbers. This is
It's wild.
It's quite astounding. It's astounding.
It is, yeah. It's like the early days of synthesis where there are no presets or patches. You're wiring circuits together to produce sounds.
Yeah, patch cables and
Yeah, exactly. But you're right, it is a box office bomb. And a lot of people will contest the idea of this being an Oubliette movie because surely everybody knows Tron. It's a weird IP. Disney keeps resurrecting it every couple of decades.
Yes.
But peculiarly, every time they do it, they seem to acknowledge that the original is somewhat of a lost arcane item. Because I remember when I bought the Blu-ray double pack with the then new movie Tron Legacy, they paired it with the original movie as like a bonus feature.
Like, no one actually wants this, right? You want the new one with the really good graphics.
And you're right, I think people will remember the light cycle sequence.
Oh, yeah.
They will remember men in tights throwing frisbees at each other. And they will remember the soundtrack, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think it's more about the aesthetic than a story like Star Wars that captured the imaginations of a generation.
Yes, I did notice similarities to Star Wars,
Me
I guess.
too.
And also like Alice in Wonderland and The Wizard of Oz, like being thrust into this magical world. And there is even a quote that I think Tron says to Flynn. He says, stranger and stranger, which just sounds very reminiscent of Alice in Wonderland, Curiouser and Curiouser.
Good point. Yeah.
Also, I did find, it did remind me of a Canadian 90s cartoon reboot
Oh, yes. Oh, my God, yes.
Which is
Reboot.
also set in this like digital computer world with, I don't even know what the characters are. In Tron, they're programs, but in Reboot, they're just, I don't know, just data, I guess. I
think there's a virus who might be the antagonist in that. But yeah,
Yes.
you're absolutely right, Dan. It's very much like set within the world of computers. I think it was also known for some groundbreaking animation techniques back in the day.
I think Reboot is one of the first made-for-TV, completely CGI'd TV series.
Yeah, but I'm actually so happy that you brought up Star Wars, because that was really the thing that I latched onto with this rewatch. And I think part of it is that even though we're all sort of on record as saying that the story isn't particularly great or meaningful or maybe even comprehensible, they are trying to do this classic hero's journey with Flynn, right? And then you've got the girl, you've got the soft antagonist or like love rival, because actually the main pairing is not a good fit. Like, I kind of love that Flynn jumps in there, thinks that he recognizes Lori and says, oh, maybe I should put the moves on her, even though she's so clearly with Tron. And you just think, this is not the real world, buddy. This is not your world. You are the outsider in this. You're basically just here to be the magical character who's going to solve all these people's problems.
Yeah, I did find the hero's journey weird, because I feel like Tron is supposed to be the main character, but then Flynn is the main character with all these user powers in inverted commas.
Yeah, if I had have done the introduction, I literally was going to end this with saying, so, you know, we always do the questions, right? So I was going to say, can Flynn survive a deadly game of light cycle? Will he realize that Yori is not Laura? And considering how little Tron gets to do, shouldn't the movie actually be called Flynn?
Yeah, it's an odd approach to the writing. And the fact that Flynn does kiss Yori or Lori or whatever the character
I mean,
is.
you could use both. Yeah, it's Yori in the game and then Lori outside.
Like, he kisses her. Like, this is preposterous. Like, what are you doing?
It's not your girlfriend, buddy.
Yeah, not in the real world either.
Yeah, another similarity to Wizard of Oz is the fact that you have all these characters in the real world, and then they're also in the Tron world, I guess. Yeah, as different characters, different versions, computer characters.
No, it is really peculiar how the protagonist is split into two.
Yeah.
But it's not that it's Flynn and his computer game counterpart. It is Flynn plus a different person's computer counterpart, Tron.
Yeah.
And he doesn't take out the MCP himself. He just distracts the MCP so that somebody else can do the shot that goes in through the tiny hole that destroys the big bad and releases the universe.
Another Star Wars.
Yeah, I noticed.
So Flynn is sort of Han Solo.
Yes.
And Tron is Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, which is why he doesn't end up with her.
Yeah, exactly. But he's centered in the movie. It's very odd.
So Flynn's motivation is just to prove that he is the original inventor, developer of the video game Space Paranoids, and not Dillinger, who was like the head of the company or one of the sort of higher ups. That's his motivation, which seems quite petty.
Yeah.
Whereas in the world of Tron, like, Tron wants to free
Everyone.
the programs, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all imprisoned by MCP. He wants to make it a free system. Like, that seems like much more sort of justified.
Altruistic, yeah. I mean, Flynn is basically, the person who's there to do everything for the guts and the glory. He wants the recognition. He wants to be known as the person who can do really, really well at the light cycle game and so on. And you just think, man, get with the times. Like, you're fighting in a revolution in this video game. But I guess to him, none of it really matters because he knows it's not real, quote unquote.
Yeah, because you get swept up in the sort of revolution plot point of the movie. And then at the end, spoiler says, when Flynn comes back to the real world and he gets the printout proving he's the developer of Space Paranoids, it seems like such an anticlimax. Like, I forgot about this. I forgot that that's what you were trying to do.
Yeah, and it's weird that it still matters to him because you do get the sense that his arc is that, okay, he went in there for that one very self-centered reason, because it's not just that he's trying to prove that he's right. I think it is that he wants the glory that Ed Dillinger has stolen from him in his meteoric rise in the company.
Well, he's defamed him, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you see him at the end, and he's got the cool helicopter and the suits. He's in charge.
Yeah, I know.
So you think that that's what it is. It's just a very shallow, self-centered thing. And through being thrown into this world and seeing there is a whole other world in there, and they've all been enslaved, then he grows to care about them, especially Yuri, who he kisses, which he shouldn't have done, such that he does commit the ultimate sacrifice, so to speak, and throws himself into the MCP's beam. I don't know what that means, but to distract him so that Tron can get the final disc in. And I'm not sure, does he know that he will just be thrown out of the computer world and reappear at that point? Or does he think he could possibly die here because everybody else dies? Why should he think that he's special? And why is he special?
Well, he's special because he's not a program. He's a user who's actually in the game. But I don't think the movie gives us enough information to know whether he knows he's making a sacrifice or if he's just like, meh, I can do this and I'll just reappear in the real world. It's not like I'm actually going to die. The movie never clarifies if, you kind of die in the game, if you'll die in real life or something. The stakes are just sort of mildly communicated.
Yes. There's this technology that exists in this movie where they use a laser to digitize matter and put it into the computer.
Yes.
So MCPE gets control of the laser and turns Flynn into a program.
Yeah, it's the project of Laurie. That's her job. She is pioneering this digitizing technology in Encom, the company that Flynn has been fired from and that Ed Dillinger now runs. And it's such an expansive program that when you get in the lift at Encom, there are 2 buttons for the laser bay. Laser bay 1 and laser bay 2. I don't know if she has competition or she just needed 2 whole floors, but Laurie is doing great at Encom.
I mean, she is working with Walter, who is an older man, so maybe he can't go up as many flights of stairs and he just needed that extra bit of lift.
Yeah, possibly.
But what is this company as well? Developing like laser digitizing technology and sort of
and computer
video games as well.
It's a broad portfolio.
We've got a Hadron Collider and we're doing Pac-Man as well. It's like, what?
I guess it's, the future envisioned, right? It's a company that can do it all. It's taking over, which is why it's so dangerous that the MCP has gained access to so many different kinds of companies and inserted itself, right? It's unchecked power.
Yeah.
Well, this is the underlying theme of the film. And it hints at it here and there. I think most obviously there is a shot that I will talk about in the Mobley Awards that depicts the office as being this endless sea of cubicles that Alan and his fellow programmers are basically anonymous and powerless in, which looks very much like the cells that the programs are held in before they're forced to play gladiatorial games to the death.
Yeah.
And we should also note that was apparently shot on location within the Disney animators' real-life working space.
Really?
Oh, wow. Oh.
Wow, subtext.
Telling.
Yeah. So you have that, and you also have the lovely final image, which is a time lapse of the city. And as the sun sets and it turns to darkness, all of a sudden it is reduced to just these grids of light flying around. And you think, the real world is just like the computer world we've been showing you. So there's this hint that corporate America, that late stage capitalism, not that they would have called it that then, but certainly the corporatization of the world, this amassing and centralization of power and control is going to be a threat in the real world as much as it is in the computer world. And this is very much what they are fighting against, a free, open source, Android, not walled garden Apple sort of environment where programmers can do whatever they want and not be controlled or scrutinized in any way. So that's kind of what they're going for thematically. I'm not sure it comes through.
I think it does kind of help by having Dillinger. He has a proxy in the game as well. It's the MCP's number 2 named Sark. And I thought that that was a helpful kind of visual representation to remind us that, because if not, you just get the kind of like face in the laser beam to represent the MCP. And it's not very convincing. Like, it doesn't look scary. It looks a little bit too much like Power Rangers and Voltron, if you're asking me. So I appreciated having Sark there because, I mean, it's David Warner and he's great. So it's just a joy to see him on screen. But I thought he was a good stand-in as a kind of a not so idle threat that helps to remind you, oh, okay, this is what we're fighting against. People like this, companies like this.
Yeah, I agree that it's the thing in movies where the villain needs to still be human, I think, as well, especially with such sort of early CGI technology. Like, this is just not scary having a spinning red head being the big bad.
Yeah, it's also an all-knowing AI, right? Which is a concept that was so far ahead of its time. This computer program that is absorbing other things into itself and breaking into the Pentagon. And the fact that Ed Dillinger, the senior executive vice president, has no control over anything. The MCP is coercing and...
Yeah, he's being blackmailed.
Yeah. So it suggests that we could at some point be enslaved by the AIs. I mean, the elderly man, played by Barnard Hughes, Walter, who I think originally started NCOM.
In its garage, yeah.
It's very Steve Jobs.
It is, yeah. He has this line where he's arguing against the MCP, and Ed Dillinger says that programs will start thinking for themselves. And he says, oh, won't that be grand? The programs will start thinking and the people will stop. And you think, they're saying this in 1982. And look where we are now at this moment in time where people really are stopping.
Yes. Yeah, it's terrifying now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm shocked how much people rely on ChatGPT.
I hate it.
Everything. Just everything. Like, can't people think anymore? It's crazy.
Yeah.
I literally had someone tell me, well, I wouldn't know how to find the answer if I didn't use ChatGPT. And I said, it's called Google. That's what we did up to 3 years ago before people started using ChatGPT all the time. It's not new. You could use your brain or you could use a search engine.
Yeah. And most of the time now, I'm using Reddit to find answers.
Sure.
Because I'm getting answers from actual humans, which are generally just more right.
Yeah. I will say, I mean, Dan, you talked a lot about films that seem to influence this movie. And I think we can also cut a direct through line from this movie to future films. Like, I had a really hard time shaking off the idea that The Matrix is basically just an updated version of this as well.
Yes, very much so.
It is, yeah. But in reverse, it's somebody who's inside the program that then wakes up and escapes from it.
Yeah, I never really thought about that. I did want to ask just certain plot points. I mean, you've got Flynn having user powers where he just is able to do anything. Like he constructs a recognizer ship out of rubble, or is it a blown up recognizer that he reconstructs because it's got a broken leg.
Missing a leg or something.
Yeah, I think he's reconstructing a dead recognizer.
Okay.
And I think he resurrects Yuri, but interestingly, he doesn't seem to do that to Ram, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah. So that scene as well. So they're on the big carrier ship that goes through a de-rezzing field. Is that what's happening? And Laurie gets de-rezzed, but he's immune, and then he brings her back. There were lots of scenes in this movie where I just didn't really know what was going on. Like, visually, I had no idea what was happening. Or like in scenes where I didn't know where they were. They would be climbing on something and I wouldn't know what they were climbing on or where they were heading. There was no sense of direction.
There's no sense of space, right?
Yeah. Everything just felt very like we're in corridors now. Oh no, we're on top of this cliff, I guess, or we've got a canyon kind of scene, but it felt very sort of like you were in a video game, but you didn't have a world map kind of thing, like a game map.
Yeah.
You were just there.
I think in a later version of this where they maybe had better control over some of this, it would have been helpful to have gotten some kind of like, and this is where they are in the computer or something.
Yeah.
And they're trying to reach this place or something. But I agree with you, Dan. There were several times where I just thought, okay, like at one point they slide down a hill so that they can talk to the guy who's kind of embedded in a throne. And I was like, this looks really cool, but also I don't understand spatially how any of this works.
Yeah.
Like, because then there's also a big door that they have to protect against because, you know, Sark is trying to break in with guys. And I was like, how come he couldn't just slide down the hill?
It's a very good point. Yeah, there are a lot of dead ends as well. There are these odd things like the grid bugs, where you just see these
green bugs
emerge from the ground.
Yeah.
And you hear Yuri on the soundtrack say, if those grid bugs get us, we're done for. Never see them again.
Right.
Yeah.
It just never comes up. They don't escape them. There's an establishing shot, and then it never comes back again.
Yeah. And also when Flynn crash lands the recognizer in this like town, it's like a village, I guess. It's like
Yeah.
And then you've got all
like
these really colorful, interesting characters. They're all odd looking. I've just never encountered them, never talked to them. Nothing. Like I thought we were going to be thrust into this digital world where we're going to meet all these weird and wonderful characters, but we don't. Like they're just background.
One and done.
Yeah. It's quite insular. It's really just a tale of three people and an adversary. The one thing that I found interesting about it as well is alongside this democracy versus authoritarian dictatorship theme that's going on, there's also a very strong spiritual aspect to Tron in terms of their relationship to the users. It's weird the way that they're depicted in the movie because they seem to experience the user in a different way than we know is reality.
Right.
So you'll see Flynn sort of typing commands on his computer, and then you'll go into the computer world and then you'll hear what his program, in this case Clue, which is a program that he creates at the beginning to break into Encom's system, hearing him talking directly to Clue and having a conversation with him and addressing him by name.
It's like God.
Yeah, it's like God, but it's not actually what's happening. Like Flynn is unaware of this. And then the scene in the tower that you mentioned that they break into, they slide down the hill to get to. Tron does have a semi-religious experience with his disc floating up into a beam of light, and Wendy Carlos has got this glorious choral theme happening. He's speaking to Alan, his user, and it's just euphoric and glorious. It's a beautiful moment in the film, but it's really quite religioso in terms of its execution.
Yeah, it is. And you have this kind of all-encompassing voice of Alan telling him what to do.
Here's your journey. I'm sending you away to go and do this thing. It's the only thing that will save your world.
Yeah, and it's just this guy called Alan sat in a cubicle with some popcorn.
I actually feel like I should be more careful with how I interact with my computer having watched this movie. Like when I do something with it, maybe I should be more gentle or use, softer language or something, because who knows what's on the inside.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. It's a plea for empathy towards your programs.
Now it's time for random trivia.
So, Dan, what fascinating piece of trivia did you dig out with your logic probe today?
Yes, well, I noticed when I watched this movie, there's a scene where Alan goes to his kind of workstation, his cubicle, and there's a quote on the wall. And I thought, what is that? What's that quote? And it says, Gort Klatu Barada Nikto. And that is a command from the 1951 sci-fi film The Day the Earth Stood Still that instructs the robot Gort to cease his destruction and prevents him from resurrecting the alien Klatu from death. So it's a great reference to a sort of a milestone of sci-fi movie.
Yes, it's been referenced a few times since then as well. There are characters in Return of the Jedi that are called Klaatu.
Oh, right.
Gort,
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Okay.
And in Army of Darkness, the third Evil Dead movie, I think it's the 3-word phrase that Ash has to recite in order to retrieve the Book of the Dead without unleashing the dead. And of course, being Ash, he fucks it up.
Right.
I think he says, Gort, Barada.
That'll do it.
Okay. And that's our trivia.
Yes. I guess we really should talk about all the technologies used to make this movie, because I just thought, oh, it's just CGI. It's not.
No.
It's so many other things going on, all incorporated. And it's quite hard to, I had to really, I watched the behind the scenes, and it's kind of hard to get your head around how much was used in this movie.
Yeah, I found an interview with Harrison Ellen Shaw, who is a special effects genius who worked on this after he'd just finished Watcher in the Woods. Somebody asked him, can you simplify the approach to this movie? And his answer was
No.
No. He said it's very hard to simplify because it's not simple. For Tron, we photographed 40 minutes of the electronic world in black and white and then made both positives and negative images of each frame, 76,000 frames times 2, 1,200 separate scenes to which were added the color by isolating different areas, rotoscoping them by hand, frame by frame, for an additional 250,000 drawings. Then each color had to be photographed separately onto film again for each of the 1,200 scenes. Most scenes had 8 to 12 exposures per frame.
Yeah. So much work.
It's mind-boggling. And then you add to that groundbreaking CGI sequences, all CGI sequences that were created by 3 or 4 different companies, each of which had different strengths and different types of software that could do different things. But there's very little CGI in the CGI movie.
Yeah, I think they said it's what, either 12 or 20 minutes?
Yeah, it's between that number. It's not a huge amount. And there's about 30 minutes of live action in the real world at the beginning and the end.
Also worth noting, they shot it on a black screen. Like, so not a green screen, not a blue screen, black, completely black, and all the costumes were white. And then when they developed the photography of it, it was high contrast. So it was just black and white, pretty much. That's why the skin tone is all, it's all just like, yeah, it almost looks like a silent movie.
Yes.
This kind of flickering effect to the skin tone, which is interesting.
Yeah, it looks like Metropolis. Yeah, and the flickering is because they screwed up.
Yeah.
Kodak made these enormous pieces of film for them with animation stand perforations in it so that they could put them all on the rotoscoping desk and photograph them. But they didn't store them in order, and they sort of fluctuate in terms of their chemical makeup from one batch to another. So that's why during scenes they flicker occasionally, and they'd actually add, the sound designer would add like electronic pulses on the soundtrack to try and give like
cover it up.
reason for why this is happening.
It works though, because it's, it's a computer world. You're going to have glitches.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though. I heard that Lisberger apparently tried to remove that in certain later versions because he was unhappy with it, because he never actually envisioned that would be how it comes out. So he didn't want it to look that way. So I'm curious to know if people watched more recent physical media releases, if they actually noticed the flickering or if that had actually been successfully removed.
It's still there from as far as I can see, or maybe the most extreme examples of it. Maybe he's evened it out overall. Because, of course, recently this movie has been painstakingly remastered in 4K. It was shot at 65 millimeters.
Oh, okay.
So it was shot large format. So remastering this cost a lot of money.
Right.
But they have just done it, and it is about to come out on 4K with Dolby Vision. And there's a lovely YouTube video where you can watch a live audience reacting to the sort of before and after being projected in a theatre, and they're all gasping.
Right.
So we're in for a treat. Tron works well in 4K on high dynamic range video, not surprisingly.
Right.
But I think you're right. It is the scenes where they're on like the game grid, like the light cycle scene, anything like that that's sort of really neon and minimalist and striking and interesting to look at. Because some of the other stuff where it's the characters layered on top of these scenes that I think are just airbrushed.
Yeah. And they had to paint it to look like CGI, I guess, like to make it look like computer graphics. So a lot of airbrushing used. And I did notice watching this movie, it feels inconsistent with some of the visuals.
Yeah.
Some of it feels, I guess, rendered, but it was airbrushed. Like there's like texture and shading. And other scenes, it's just lines.
Nothing.
On a black background. Like,
Yeah.
it felt so inconsistent at times. And also the fact that they did use 4 different CGI companies to make this movie.
Did they talk to each other? We don't know.
No, for Disney, surprisingly, it's not very well designed in terms of telling your eye where to look or dimensionally how far some things are from other things.
Yeah, certain scenes just feel like they've been paid much more attention to, and then other times I found my eye and therefore my attention wandering, because I think you're right, Dan. There just wasn't enough texture or something visually captivating to keep my attention from drifting.
Yeah, there were certain scenes that were like, wow, this looks amazing. There's lots of lights and flickering and glitching and stuff. And then other scenes like, oh, this looks unfinished. This looks like like an animatic or something. This doesn't look right.
A little bit, right?
I tried to look at it from a fresh pair of eyes. I tried to imagine how you're seeing it, Dan. And I thought, yeah, some of this is pretty ugly, actually.
I mean, it's an ugly film, I have to say. It's very ugly. It's very garish looking. Like the color palette is like, oh, it hurts to watch. Because you've got these black and white people, and then you've got these kind of neon lights on their suits, sort of glowing out, which is that the backlighting? That,
it is. Yeah, very much like The Secret of Nim, the same sort of technique. Yeah.
So you've got these high contrast photography on like a OHP, basically, like a shiny light from up from behind it, and then you're photographing it from above. I heard they did a demo reel where it was like 2 minutes of footage, and it took them a month to make that.
Oh, man.
And it involved so many people as well. So many more people than they envisioned to just do that of just 2 minutes. And so they shipped it to Taiwan.
They did.
To get them to do it.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes, the Cuckoo's Nest, which we've run into, they were the ones that produced, I mean, they did so much Saturday morning TV. We listed all the examples, but they also did The Secret of Nim 2.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah, so they specialize in that. But for this, they were specifically just hired to do all of the rotoscoping. Right. So they had to sit there and cut out the masks for the whole character, and then they had a separate pass for the face and the eyes and the teeth, just so they could make those
so
pop.
Meticulous.
Yeah, because I mean, you've got to have Americans with white teeth, otherwise, what are we doing?
I want my computer programs with white teeth. They need to be bleached.
They do. I mean, the actors are very brave. Credit is due to all of them for their performances. I think especially...
Oh, I thought you were going to say for the costumes.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly, because...
Modesty be damned in the computer world, apparently.
Exactly. They're all in lycra or spandex, more likely at this period, and wearing a bicycle helmet at a time when neither of these things is fashionable.
No.
It's very unforgiving, also in a period where people aren't jacked particularly.
No.
But, I mean, Bruce Boxleitner and Jeff Bridges and Cindy Morgan
They look good.
fantastic in this movie.
Yeah.
And they breathe life into their characters, even though none of them had a clue what the hell any of this was about.
But yeah, the making of is hilarious. Listening to the actors talking about, so we had nothing to go by. We were just in a big black room.
Right.
With absolutely nothing as in terms of perspective or reference. I think there was one scene that Cindy Morgan mentions where she's on top of the solar sailor and she's like, I don't know what this is. And the director had to show her some concept art of this is what you're going to be on and this is the way you're going to be traveling. Okay, all right.
That's so interesting. That sounds very similar to the shooting process that Robert Rodriguez ended up using for Sin City, where basically they were just standing on boxes and there was no sets and like it was all green screen. So they were just like, how is this going to look? And I think he had to do a similar thing where it was, you just need to trust me. Here's what it actually looks like. The difference is that because it was so much more contemporary, he could show them on the playback. This this is what it's going to look like immediately. So they finally got it.
Yeah, I think in some scenes for Sin City, that you have two actors in a scene that were never in a scene together.
Most of the actors never met each other. No.
Yeah, that's amazing.
They had a similar issue in this film because although all the actors did work together, they did sometimes have to shoot all of them separately because the depth of field on the 65mm cameras they were using indoors on a black set, no matter how much light they threw at it, the depth of field was really shallow. Right. So sometimes the cinematographer was saying to Steven Lisberger, do you want the left eye to be in focus or the right?
Oh, God.
And as for group shots where you've got three people, like that scene where Tron, Flynn, and Ram are looking out over a valley, they've all been shot separately and they're being composited on top of each other because you could not do that shot and keep them all in focus.
Wow.
And they had to be in focus because otherwise you can't rotoscope them.
Of course.
Yeah. I think Jeff Bridges as well mentions that he didn't know how much to act as well, because whether to make it very dramatic and sort of a big reaction, or whether to be more subtle, because there was nothing to go by. Right. And so, when it gets to the editing process, you would have a scene maybe too overacted or too underplayed.
Right.
Yeah. But it's pretty amazing what they achieved with the acting alone and the performances.
I imagine it sounds like we've come down a little hard on certain elements of the film, but part of me thinks it's a wonder they even managed to pull it off, or that there's something remotely compelling. Like, I actually think Jeff Bridges is quite good at this movie. I think Flynn is very charismatic. I wish Tron had a bit more heroicism to him, but then I partially wonder, well, maybe it's because he's not really the hero of this film. So
that's true. I'm still unsure. And also having the Laurie or Yori character, I don't know what she really adds either.
She's a lady.
Yes. They're both straight. That's what she adds. The men are straight, everyone, despite the spandex. It's all because you can imagine if she weren't there and it's just all these guys running around in spandex, it's not going to be good.
Well, and that's why we had to kill Ram earlier, right?
Well, exactly. So I guess we should talk about the music for this film.
Yes.
Created by the famous synthesist Wendy Carlos, who was a groundbreaking musician. She created this landmark in the Switched On Bach album, which was her creating these Baroque classics using a Moog synthesizer and other very early synths. And she was originally approached to work on the movie just to create synthesizer music for the computer world. But she successfully argued, hey, I am a fully trained musician who can do orchestral work. I think this should be an orchestra and a choir. And so she was finally hired to do all of it.
Right.
And it ends up being this massive production. I mean, there's a full orchestra recorded in the UK. There's a piece played on the organ in the Royal Albert Hall over the end credits, which adds that sort of religious touch to it again. There's the UCLA chorus and Wendy's amazing synthesizer creations.
Yes. So I didn't know it was her doing the score when I watched this movie, and then I was looking her up, and it's like, she is an absolute legend.
Oh, she's a legend
in terms of the synth world.
Yeah,
she's been credited as influencing a lot of the choices in the Moog final production model of the Moog synthesizer, like features like a touch-sensitive keyboard, a portamento control, a fixed filter bank, and a 49 oscillator polyphonic generator bank. So she is just synths would not exist without her. I wouldn't own all the synths in this room without her. She is exceptional. I have to say, and this might be a hot take, I was a bit disappointed with the score.
Okay.
I wanted more synths. You were in a computer world.
Oh, okay.
Give me some computer music. Give me some more electronic music. I was a little bit disappointed to hear orchestra.
It does feel like sometimes the orchestra takes over. Like, there are certain tracks, I think, that are much more synth heavy, but then other times you think, oh, wow, okay, this is more orchestral than I would have expected.
Yeah. I mean, it works. I'm not going to deny.
You just want more. more. You're greedy.
Yeah, the orchestral stuff is great, but it's kind of expected. Like, I wanted more sort of interesting electronic stuff. I wanted, like, Blade Runner sounding music in this movie.
Right.
And
yeah.
less choral strings and woodwind and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I will say the synth is always present and
It is.
sometimes overdubbing the orchestra. Like, she often overdubs the brass with her synth textures. And I think that's because the brass weren't mic'd very closely, so it didn't have the impact that she wanted. So she went over and laid synth patches over the top of them instead. But they're fascinating compositions. I mean, there's two main themes. There's a love theme and then there's a militaristic theme. And I think all of them are in 7/8 time. So they're all slightly odd.
There's a lot of time signature changes, which I think it really adds to the sort of digital sort of weirdness of the movie.
The kind of glitchiness too, right?
Yes.
I noticed that in a lot of reviews where people said there's just something sonically weird about this. Like, people couldn't put their finger on why it was catching their attention. It didn't seem quite right. And I kind of loved that.
Yeah.
Like, it was obviously by design, but also there's something where even people like me who are Luddites when it comes to music, they can sense that this is unusual.
Yeah.
I've always loved it. I've had the vinyl album since childhood.
Of course you do.
And then finally the CD was released with some extra tracks, but it still has never been released in its complete form.
Oh, really? Isn't it because there was some issues with preservation? Didn't they have like a really bad copy and then they needed to wait until the technology got better so they could recover it?
Yeah, there's a fascinating article on Wendy Carlos's website where she talks about she had the original master tapes and unfortunately there was a problem with tape stock in the early 80s. Apparently they changed the formulation of the glue and so over time it absorbed moisture and the whole thing just turns into tree sap. But if you bake the tapes really slowly, the molecules all go back into position and you can quickly play the tape and put it onto a DAT. And then she's made multiple backups.
Right, of
and
course.
then she could remaster the score for this CD. But still, a lot of it is still missing. And many of her cues were dropped. Like, she wrote a cue for the light cycle scene and it was dropped in favor of pure sound design, which she was really disappointed by.
Yeah. Also, I thought the sound design could have been better.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
I don't know. Yeah, we can maybe talk about it in the movies, but yes, that was a bit lacking for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that every single Tron movie has had like an absolute legend of electronic music as the composer.
Yeah.
So we've got Wendy Carlos, Daft Punk, and Nine Inch Nails. That's pretty astounding.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And I think we'd be remiss, particularly in this day and age, not to note that Wendy Carlos is also a trans woman and had transitioned in the early 70s. And she was also known for doing the score for Stanley Kubrick's films. So she did A Clockwork Orange as well as The Shining.
Yes,
Very memorable work. Yeah.
Coming to you live from the movie Oubliette Theatre, it's the prestigious Mobley Awards.
Okay, it's a movie awards where we nominate our favorite light cycle whizzing parts of the film in a number of battle tank exploding categories.
Best quote.
So unfortunately, Conrad has already said the quote that I picked out, and it's only because it's become ever more prescient. So when Walter says computers will start thinking and the humans will stop, I just thought, wow, Tron, back off a little bit, okay?
Yeah, it's a scarily prescient line. I love it.
Wow. How about you, Conrad?
My favorite is from Flynn, and it's when he first arrives in the world of Tron, and he says, "Oh man, this isn't happening. It only thinks it's happening."
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Best hair or costume.
I found this the hardest category to pick because everybody's sort of dressed the same, but I decided to go with Sark's red Tron outfit because it's just a different color and it makes him feel that much more menacing.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got the spiky headset thing
Yeah.
going on as well. I don't know what
Different bike
that's all
helmet.
about.
Yeah.
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 And the lights would glow when he got angry or when he was tortured. You know, there was a kind of expression with the suit.
Right.
For me, I picked Dumont, because he's the watcher of the IO Tower, and he's an old program, and so he looks kind of like a sphinx. He's got kind of an Egyptian installation feel to him, which is quite fascinating.
I did want to point out that costume as well because he's like a giant disc. Like he's attached to the floor. He's just this big giant disc that revolves. Like he can't move around. He's attached, but he can revolve around. But his head does look quite phallic to me. Like a
little bit.
It's quite protruding.
Most 80s movement.
I went with the easy one. So we've got the intersection between video games and then the emerging, rising superpower of computers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're adding to that like the 80s sort of brightly fluoro-colored CGI as well. Like, I mean, yeah. CGI back then was so garish. It was so bright and vibrant, and the colors they chose. Oh, I don't know why.
Had to pop on screen, I guess.
Yeah.
I was going to say either Jeff Bridges' feathered mane or possibly my vote goes to the kid who's playing Asteroids in Flynn's arcade, who's wearing one of those headbands with 3 color stripes on it.
Oh, yeah.
The sort of thing that you would see as like a totemic representation of the 80s in Stranger Things
I
or
was going to
something.
say,
yeah.
did it make an appearance there? Because if not, it can't be considered an iconic 80s thing.
Favorite scene.
So I think the light race game is an obvious pick, so I will try to pick something else. So I ended up going with the sequence where Flynn is struggling to fly his makeshift recognizer, because I thought that it actually had a sense of fun to it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there are whole sections of this film where I just thought, okay, we're doing the thing, but I'm not really loving it. I'm not feeling as engaged as I want to be. And this felt like a kind of Disney magic that I was expecting from something like Tron.
Right. Yeah.
Especially when that Bit turns up and he's got a little new friend to talk
I
to.
love Bit.
Why did we not see more of Bit? I thought this was going to be
Right?
the sidekick that he would have throughout the entire movie.
And it's Disney. You'd expect Bit to be an integral part of this. We're going to sell Bit toys later or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Would have been a great idea.
listeners, if you don't know, Bit is this floating orb thing that can only say yes or no replies because it's it's binary code, I guess. And it's cute. It's real cute.
It's very cute.
Yes. No. And when he's crashing, no. It is great, actually. The movie does come to life briefly in that scene. Right.
It does, yeah. Well, I was going to pick the obvious choice, which was the light cycle scene. I don't think it looks great watching it again. Like, it is all CGI, and it's not great CGI. And I feel like the light cycle bikes are too skinny. They almost look flat with how sort of slim they are. But the whole rules of the light cycle battle, I guess, or race, is really interesting. So they have this light trace that comes out from behind them, but it turns into a wall, so you can't go into it, and so they have to be kind of parallel with how they're racing around. And so it's a really, really cool concept for a game as well.
Yeah.
Was Tron ever a game?
It was.
It was.
It was,
Yes.
right. Okay.
The game was actually more successful than the movie.
It was.
Okay.
And that is what I knew first. So I had one of those early Atari consoles. So I was running around throwing discs, trying to get into the eye of the recognizer and doing the light cycle game. Yeah, before I knew what the movie was, because the movie had been and gone in the cinema. I was too young to see it, and then it came up on TV, and finally I knew what this game was all about.
Right.
Yeah.
Most cliche moment.
I mentioned it before. I will say it again. Flynn as the chosen one. It is a familiar narrative beat, and sometimes I get tired of it.
Yeah. with the Chosen One user powers as well. But he's not the Chosen One. I feel like Tron's the Chosen One as well. So it's confusing.
Yeah. Maybe that's a subversion. Maybe I should give the film more grace.
Yeah.
I was going to say Bond villain stupidity, I think it's called, this cliche, or just shoot him. And it's for that moment where the villain has the hero trapped in an apparently hopeless situation, but he can't stick around. He's busy. He's got to leave. So he just leaves him on his enormous carrier ship to be de-rezzed, but he's not going to watch.
Yeah.
He just thinks it'll turn out fine.
Yep. And they always escape. Every time.
Every time.
Every damn time.
Best special effect.
In a way, mine is also a scene, but I think the solar sailor, to me, is one of the more impressive parts of the film. I think in part because, Dan, like you and I were talking about earlier, we just frequently didn't really know where the film was going. It lacked a sense of geography. And I kind of like that the solar sailor breaks that down and says, here, we're going to follow this beam of light to the other beam of light in the distance, and that's how we're going to get there, is on this ship. And I just thought, that's really cool looking.
Yeah. And they go over these kind of mountains, so you see kind of the topography of the world as well. So there are these kind of geographical little landmarks that they have to go over. Yeah, it has a sense of direction. It really does.
Yeah, and I think the ship looks cool. It looks different visually than everything else that we've seen to date. So I was just like, oh, I like the design of this ship, and I think it's a cool effect.
Yeah.
Special effect for me would be Flynn getting digitized. So he kind of there's kind of this freeze frame, and then the laser goes across like it's like a printer, and like
I loved it.
Sort of erasing him and digitizing him into the computer. It's a really cool effect.
Yeah.
And his posture is so bizarre, right? Because he doesn't expect to get zapped. So it's not like, oh, it's just a man sitting in a chair. It looks like he's falling backwards.
Yes, yeah.
I really liked it too.
Yeah, it's great. Great scene.
Yeah.
Favorite sound effect.
So I have two. One is the kind of alarm clock radio sound when Master Control tortures programs on the grid wall. You can actually hear it. It sounds, I guess like an alarm clock in the background. It's very interesting. And then I guess the other piece would be the throwing noise that accompanies the identity discs, so the frisbees when they're chucking them at each other. And initially, I didn't think that much of it, but then when I was looking at the IMDb trivia, it says that this apparently comes from screeching monkeys.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
So, okay.
Well, that certainly lends it some power.
Wow. Conrad?
I was going to say the light cycle sequence, a scene which is so heavily sound designed that Wendy Carlos's music cue for it was thrown out. But I think it was the right decision. Sorry, Wendy, because it is such an impactful scene just sonically. I particularly like the moment where they go into the maze, which is all of the complicated lines that have been drawn already by the various bicycles. And you can feel this pressure of going into this contained environment all of a sudden. And then he's turning all of these corners and there's just whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Right. And then he comes out of it and some of the noise goes away. It's great. It's really good.
Sound-wise for me, I liked how they kind of bit crushed a bunch of sound effects. Like, I think the punching sounds sound very 8-bit, and a lot of the explosion sounds very 8-bit, and also the CGI graphics that they had. Everything looks kind of blocky, like it's from a computer game, so it's like pixelated. It's a great choice for sonically to have it sort of sound like it's coming from a computer.
Yeah.
Most funniest moment.
All right, so Conrad has already stolen mine, but it is Bit yelling, no, 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 no. It's so charming and very cute.
Yeah,
it is.
It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, Joe, like that whole recognizer trying to fly that ship by Flynn, that was the funniest scene for me. Like it's a really comedic scene. When he crash lands, it doesn't just like crash land, it kind of splits down. It's almost like quite
Yeah.
cartoony with how it crashes.
It is.
Yeah, and he gets thrown out the windscreen. I was also going to pick the moment after he's resurrected it and Wendy's done this amazing score building up to this crescendo as it assembles. And then a bit of it is sort of broken,
Yeah.
and so it sort of wobbles and falls off. And
Yep.
she gets the score to just sort of riff down.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, I love it. It is really the funniest part of the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's our Mooblies.
Hello, this is Robert Picardo, and you're listening to Movie Oubliette.
Okay, it's time for our final verdicts. Should Tron be transported from its digital prison to the real world and receive thunderous acclaim, or should it be hit with Tron's disc, be de-rezzed and plummet back into the darkness of the oubliette lost forever? Joe, does Tron still hold up today?
Oh gosh, this is tough because I think for sheer entertainment purpose, I don't love this movie. I don't revisit it often. I don't think about it often. But at the same time, I mean, so much of our conversation has been how Herculean an effort this took to make. And I think just for sheer influence in terms of other films, what we do with the animation, the CGI, like, even if you don't like the movie itself, you have to recognize its place in history. So I think we have to let it out.
Okay. I agree. I don't think this movie is very enjoyable to watch at all. It's almost incomprehensible to understand with the dialogue. I had no idea where anyone was at any time. It looks very ugly as well. I don't know. It's really tough. I think the making of is way more fascinating than actually watching this movie, and everything that went into making the movie and all the different technologies and animation styles, CGI and everything to make it is fascinating. Truly fascinating. I don't know whether I would recommend people watch this movie as a stand.
It's like watch the special features.
As a standalone. Watch Tron and you'll have the time of your life. I don't think that's a thing that will ever happen. I think you really have to appreciate what went into it to really understand just how incredible it was at the time. But I'm sorry, I'm not going to recommend this movie.
Okay. Yep.
No, that's a perfectly valid answer. I mean, I am just purely blinded by nostalgia goggles, and I still think aesthetically it's astonishing. And I think the performances are great, and I love Wendy Carlos's music, and I still enjoy watching it. Every time it gets remastered and put out on a new format, I buy it and watch it with glee. I know the story doesn't really work and it's not particularly compelling. And seen with fresh eyes, I can imagine that just looks ugly as hell. But for me, it just sends me back to being a kid throwing a frisbee around and imagining that I'm Tron.
Right.
So
Right.
I think because of that, I have to say yes, but maybe only for people who are my age. I don't know. So I guess that's a winning vote, but we better check in with our patrons because they have the deciding vote. Maybe they'll go against me. Let's check in with our AI. Hello, Gary.
Hello.
Final vote, please.
They set it free.
Oh, of course. I kind of expected that.
I figured as much. Yeah. I would have been shocked.
Yeah. 89% of people voting on our Patreon wanted to set it free. Chazilla said, Tron. There's so much in Tron that we'd never seen on screen before. Shooting the characters in black and white, mixing in Disney animation effects and primitive CGI, never been done before. It had its own look and feel. David Warner chewing up the scenery gave off serious rated R vibes. I still don't know how much of this film was CGI or where, but at 12 we argued constantly as to how much was done in a computer. Mm-hmm. If it's level 7 access is revoked, just forge level 6 and let it out of the oubliette.
Great.
But there were dissenting voices. Film aficionado says, who knew that a generic printout is all you need to prove computer game authorship?
I saw that too.
Rewatching Tron invokes nostalgia for a time when Disney was willing to take risks. Unfortunately, it didn't pay off with Tron. The setting, a totalitarian society inside a computer system, is certainly imaginative. The arena games are also original in concept. The movie fails, however, to tell a story in this world in a captivating way. Its editing, direction, and uneven pacing combine to rob the movie of any excitement. The score, which wouldn't sound out of place at a carnival, certainly fails to assist.
Don't agree with that.
The result is a paradoxically dull film that's difficult to recommend. Its sequel, Tron Legacy, is more entertaining in just about every way. But overall, we're setting it free.
Yay.
There we go.
Okay.
Off you go, Tron.
Hey, I'm getting out of here and you guys are invited. Bye!
Well, Joe, thank you so much for recommending we cover this movie. It's such a timely time to revisit this, not just because of the sequel, but because of the AI threat that looms to enslave us all. Where can people hear more of your film coverage?
Okay, well, hopefully it'll still be me and not some kind of simulation. But yes, I could be reached at B Stole My Remote, and that's the letter B on Instagram, or Joe Lipsett on Blue Sky. And yes, you can listen to me on Horror Queers. And then, of course, Conrad and I have a little queer side project called The Queer Gaze, where we look at some various queer films. So yeah, I'm just kind of popping around the internet, doing my thing.
Yes. So many podcasts.
Yeah. And we do have the TIFF episodes coming out too.
Yes.
Yeah, look out for some TIFF coverage with me and Joe spilling the beans on all the films we saw.
And listeners, if you want to follow us, we are Movie Oubliette everywhere. And if you want to email us, we are movie.oubliette@gmail.com to send us a direct line.
Yes, indeed. We love hearing from you. And if you want to support the show, then head on over to Patreon, where for as little as $1, you can get extra content. For $5, you can vote on the final verdict and get bonus minisodes. And for $10, you can be an executive producer like Chazilla, Isaac Sutton, Dr. Doggy, Serge, Iconographer, Ryan A. Potter, and Nick Hardy.
Thanks a lot for the support. I believe our next minisode will be about Tron Legacy.
It will indeed. Yes, we're going to watch the sequel.
Yes. We have merchandise on Redbubble and a YouTube channel. And please, if you haven't already, give us a rating and a review on whatever you're listening to us on. Helps us out.
It does indeed.
Okay, Conrad, what is the next film that we will be covering on the podcast?
Well, it'll be our Halloween special. We'll have a special guest with us. And we will be looking at the 1999 American fantasy horror TV movie, Don't Look Under the Bed.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard of this film.
No, me neither. It was recommended by our guest as a TV movie on the Disney Channel that scared the hell out of a whole generation of kids. So I'm fascinated.
Oh, and we're sticking with Disney as well.
We are indeed, yes. A Disney double bill this month.
That's great. Can't wait to check it out. Okay, well, Conrad, it's great to have you back on the podcast.
It's great to be back, yeah.
And listeners, until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye, programs.
Bye.
We review the films others tend to forget. Come with us and open up the movie Oubliette.
Hey, Alan, do you think I could have some of your popcorn?